In the next panel discussion, we will unravel the profound impact of GenAI in the banking, financial services, and insurance sector. The discussion will encompass evolving banking dynamics in the GenAI era, the role of GenAI in digital disruption within asset and wealth management, the revolutionizing effects of AI in insurance underwriting, and the vital role of GenAI in navigating the new normal of regulatory compliance. Our panel discussion will be skillfully moderated by Naveen Yeri, Senior Vice President and Head of Enterprise Analytics and Data Science at Wells Fargo. He will guide the conversation as we explore the future of BFSI Dynamics in the Gen AI age. Naveen, please. Joining us on the panel, we have Shivani Venkatesh, Head of Client Insights at RBL Bank, who plays a pivotal role in making data-driven decisions through analytics and AI. Welcome, Shivani. Kiran, President of Digital Engineering Services at Cigniti Technologies, a leader in software testing responsible for powering digital transformation initiatives. And Ashwini Bhole, Associate Principal and Head of Product Development for Financial Markets at eClerx, where she innovatively employs analytics and AI for clients in the financial markets domain. Handing it over to Naveen, please, sir.
Thank you so much. Everybody can hear me? Perfect. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I first want to thank Nasscom for arranging this wonderful event. And also want to thank the panelists as well. So we have, before I go ahead, I want to especially mention one thing about the diversity of the panel, quite balanced on the podium, yes? And also the inclusion. So please give a round of applause for that. So we have been talking about generative AI, a little bit of the past, a lot about the future. And I want to double click on a lot of the BFSI segment, and we have esteemed panelists from various perspectives. When we think about Gen AI in the BFSI field, I think about in three dimensions. One is the impact that it is opening up from boardroom to the coding table is enormous. This kind of breadth is probably has been seen in the past with the advent of the light bulb or the wireless or the internet or what have you. The second is we have to match the customer expectations. It's super important because especially in the banking sector, when it comes to money and the money that is kept with an institution, there is an element of trust. And also there is another thing that is growing in the other direction, which is customer patience. How many of you are willing to be on a call for 40 minutes and still not get an answer? That's not the day and age, right? So the patience is diminishing. The third point is that business leaders do not want to lose this disruption wave. We don't want to be caught up in a wave called Kodak moment, where Kodak was not, embracing the digital technology, and also Motorola. If you remember the flip phone, the Motorola Razr, their stock dived 90% in a span of 39 months because they were ready for the smartphone, but they did not roll it out. So these are the moments the business leaders do not want to lose on. So these three dimensions are absolutely important. So let's do a quick round of introduction, and then we'll get on to the questions. Ashwini.
Hi, I'm Ashwini Bhole. I work for eClerx and I have an experience of 20 plus years working with delivery for products for eClerx. And I lead the product development for the markets vertical, which basically caters to the investment bank customers that we deal for eClerx. And I am also leading the Gen AI implementations for our banks into our products, so that it's more of a deliverable end product for the end customer.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us to the panel. Fantastic audience. Great to see everyone here. Kiran Kuchimanchi, I head the Digital Engineering Services Unit within Cigniti. As you all may know, Cigniti is the leader in the digital assurance space for close to 2.5 decades. We work with about 50 of the Fortune 500 companies. And about $250 million in revenue, aspire to be $1 billion in revenue by in about 5 years from now. A huge amount of focus that we've been putting in the digital engineering space, and we are close to about 500 people today, about $35 odd million in revenue. A set of areas that I cover as part of the Digital Engineering Services Unit, AI and ML. Obviously, generative AI is part of that group. DevOps is the second area. A lot of work that we do on the data engineering side, we can talk about that in more detail as we go through the session. And then lastly, everything that we do for our clients in putting this intelligence, be it through AI, ML, generative AI, or whatever else, into the application/products that they develop. So that's broadly the introduction.
Hi, everyone. Wonderful to be here with my esteemed co-panelists as well. Shivani, so I have spent the last 15 odd years working largely with financial service majors, driving business through data, right? So business outcomes through data. So I head the client insights AI and analytics vertical for the bank. We are a horizontal service cutting across the entire bank, and we work on every aspect of data related work, ranging from operational regulatory reporting, automation, right up to AI, ML, analytics, business analytics, visual analytics, and so on. So we have a fairly mature distributed team. So I think we were talking a little bit earlier. So we have the team post COVID now working distributed across Pune, Mumbai, multiple locations in Mumbai, also in Delhi. So that's what we do. So our primary objective is either driving revenue, saving cost, or helping in some form in decision making. So that's what drives the core objectives for the team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, esteemed panelists. My name is Naveen Yeri. I head up the Enterprise Analytics and Data Science at Wells Fargo. I have three functions. One is Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence, AI products, as well as the BI Capability Center. I also sit on the Innovation Council at Wells Fargo. So pleasure to be here. So let's dive into the first question. First question is for Shivani. From your vantage point, what does generative AI do for customers in a banking setup? When I think about the depositors, the deposit holders, are they ready for a chatbot? Are our wealth investors ready to interact with a machine other than a professional? So what's your take?
Thanks, Naveen. So I think, to answer the question, I'll have to kind of go a little bit and talk about, what is happening today in India if we look at it from a demographic standpoint. I think we are standing today where we have a very large, Gen Z population. We have a very large millennial population. And these are the customers who are coming to us. So we definitely are seeing an uptake of digital channels of interaction, chatbot being one of them, among our customers. In fact, some of the experiments that we ran with some of our premium customers actually yielded surprising results, where we actually saw a good uptake of some of these channels among our premium customers as well. Having said that, I think there is also a very clear sort of pattern that we are seeing in terms of what customers will be comfortable doing digitally. There is a continuum. Maybe there are 20 things that I want to do with my bank. Maybe out of those 20 things, a younger customer who is probably looking for less complicated products will be comfortable doing 18 completely digitally or through a chatbot or interacting with a non-human interface. But I think as we move up the continuum to a customer who is, more involved with the bank, maybe, requiring more personalized, complex banking solutions, then, probably the percentage of things that they would, be comfortable doing with a non-human interface would go down to maybe 50-60%. But I think we do have a play at both ends of the continuum. I think that's very, very important. And the other thing that Naveen just spoke of, that patience, is wearing thin, right? So people don't want to kind of wait on a voice call for 45 minutes, and to a large extent, getting a quick response and getting the fact that getting an acknowledgement that the query or the item that the customer wants help with has been worked upon or is being worked upon is something very important. So I think Gen AI will definitely help us enhance customer experience. I think another thing that I'd like to just share at this point is Gen AI will also play a role in improving efficiency and productivity of some of the agents who are interacting with customers. I think what we are seeing as some of the possible use cases is being able to create intuitive search interfaces for content that we have within the organization around products, policy, SOPs, and so on. Which we believe will, help the front end teams, relationship managers, voice agents, etc., to answer questions quickly and probably answer more questions at the first level, or get it first time right, rather than going to the next level of authority in the organization. So I think this also will in a way obviously improve operational efficiency, but also improve customer experience over a period of time. So yes, I think definitely in this space, Gen AI is going to make a difference.
Shivani, thank you. I anchor off a few points that you mentioned. Involved and personalized, intuitive, and also most importantly, you mentioned something about making it first time right. And let me piggyback on that question and ask you a question, Kiran. So when we build these capabilities, it's not once done and dusted, right? So we need to get the utilities and capabilities live longer, because the economies of scale is only realized when it is reusable. What's your take?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think firstly, before you can talk about economies of scale, I think when we go about into the field and talking to some of our customers, we see two kinds of people. There are people still waiting and watching and trying to understand this landscape, and there are people who are jumping in straight away and trying to experiment. So or at least we are of the firm belief that it is better to run the race and risk losing than sitting on the fence. So it's probably best to try and experiment and see what works within your own enterprise context than trying to wait and watch. That's the first thing that I wanted to say. The second one, I think, is that, specifically talking about Gen AI and specifically referring to some of the conversations that we're having in the BFSI space, Gen AI has democratized AI to a certain extent. Transformers architecture existed prior to this. Encoder decoder architecture existed prior to this. It's just that Gen AI has been able to, sort of democratize it in much better manner compared to anyone else in the past so far. So that's the second phenomena that's happening. And the third one, I think, is that, in my opinion, the biggest differentiator for every company moving forward, not necessarily just the BFSI companies, is that you sort of look at innovation as the means to try and identify new things that you would do. If you want to increase customer experience, try and understand as to what you could do, leveraging some of the emerging tech. So that's the key, and innovation is only possible through experimentation. So these three factors are driving investments into, some of the stuff that's happening on the AI and Gen AI space. Now, if you superimpose that on what specific things that you should be doing in order to achieve that scale, and if you put that in a XY matrix, I think, and sort of put together a series of initiatives that you could do, time on one axis, and then capability and ROI on another axis. I would say plot these projects plot these initiatives on that XY axis, and identify those initiatives that are probably giving you the maximum impact, maximum business value, rather than the number of projects. It's not about how many projects, it's about the business value, it's about the impact that these, even if it's just one initiative, what's the impact that it is actually giving. And the only variant to that is that we've seen there are certain initiatives that can drag a lot of other capabilities, internal capabilities, also along with those initiatives. And that's probably the biggest or the most important one that you will have to focus as a company. So yeah, just going back to your point, economy scale important, but I would put some constraints on what kinds of initiatives that you would take up in order to get to that economies of scale.
Great, thank you so much, Kiran. So let me move on to Ashwini. Kiran just talked about the connection between GenAI and AI, and he mentioned that GenAI has democratized AI. There is one axis. So we have been, there has been a lot of news around metaverse over the last couple of years or so. But there is also this euphoria about GenAI. Have we forgotten metaverse, or what's the potential that has with metaverse plus GenAI? What are those common elements? How can we make as the sum of the parts can be bigger than the whole? Ashwini, your take on that?
Yeah, sure. Naveen, what I feel is that in terms of the BFSI domain that we have, the combination of metaverse and GenAI is more applicable towards the customer experience, improving the customer experience that the customer has in broadly 2 or 3 aspects. One is in the sales spectrum, where we can have financial, provide financial advice, have virtual banks where you have a financial advisor who is advising the customer. Solution for that, then doing your actual sales for the bank, and also in terms of recommending products to the client. And I think the system or the LLM model with a combination of metaverse will do a very good job, because it has got the potential of processing lot amount of data behind the scene, including the customer data that it has, the past experience that the customer has, plus the industry as well as the macroeconomic parameters that it can combine with the customer data. The recommendation that the system would provide would be far more better. The second aspect is more in terms of, customer services or the customer, executive service that we provide, customer care services. Wherein all the issues, the way Shivani mentioned, all the issues or the initial queries that the client have can be handled by, a customer operator, which is more of a virtual operator, but it still gives him a personal touch in the metaverse area. That is one aspect that it can deal with. And the second is that this also reduces a certain amount of risk as a customer, because now I'm not dealing with an individual where I'm sharing my information to an individual. I'm actually sharing this information to a system. So this reduces the misuse of data that was possible earlier, because I had that threat of I'm talking to an individual and I'm also sharing the details, information to him. So all those aspects are also to certain level reduced. So in terms of security aspect. And the third is, I think at an organization level, it can also be used for client employee onboarding, in a way that we can have that virtual world for getting an employee onboarded within the organization, not just in BFSI but across the organization. It can be applied, creating that virtual area. And in terms of challenges, we see this challenge of in terms of accepting GenAI and metaverse completely because of the security aspect, but we'll have to have that robust security on top of it to ensure that the customer accepts it, and also have the regulatory compliance aspect attached to it, so that it is easily accepted by the customer. So all the solutions has to in line with the security aspect, being personalized to the customer, with the combination that the customer has the full, aspect of the data that he is trying to put on the system and a regulatory mode on top of it. I think that's how we'll be able to overcome a combination of metaverse as well as GenAI and give a good experience to the customer.
Thank you. And also, you hit on some of the elements of responsible AI, which we have been talking about. And I will ask this question to Shivani from a responsible AI standpoint. Maybe slightly hypothetical, but let me phrase it this way. What do you call an AI that always behaves ethically and responsibly, never makes any mistakes, and never goes rogue? Is there something called as a perfect Gen AI?
Well, I mean, I think that's a trick question, right? So, so I think, I think, I mean, both AI and humans are not perfect, right? So I think, I mean, many times we go towards AI, and as Ashwini also mentioned, there is a certain comfort that AI offers in terms of, data security, for example, or, consistency of delivery of service, right? So if I have a bot talking, I know that the tone is going to be the same, the tonality, they're not, the bot is not going to start hurling abuses at the customer. I know that the script will be adhered to 100%. So I think those are some of the benefits, right? But the other side of it, which is the side where what happens when a scenario that the AI has not seen before, has not been trained for, comes into picture, then how does it react, right? So obviously, that's where what happens is then I kind of end up having that conversation ending there, and then bringing a human into the loop anyway, right? So I think that's the part where as we kind of start having better involved conversations that AI is able to have or able to sort, and the synthetic nature of that interaction diminishes, which is largely what we have seen with Gen AI, right? Because I think we have had voice bots for a long time, but I think they have not really kind of been able to have conversations which are quasi human conversations. So I think as that synthetic feel diminishes, and as basically we have more involved queries that the bot can answer, then I think we have a larger share moving there. uh, in terms of how responsible will this AI be, I think we've all been talking about the fact that AI is as good as the data that it has been trained on, right? So ultimately, that data, if it comes with biases, or if it has not seen certain scenarios, or if it is basically carrying biases, because typically we train AI on data that was in the past generated through human interactions, right? So that data is what has been used to train the AI. So the human biases, therefore, by definition, are going to get transferred into the AI as well. But I think what is happening is that it's probably easier to, as I said, control, track, measure, some of these things, and see how we can improve on the performance of AI on these parameters. But I think awareness is there now on responsible AI. It's a conversation that's catching steam. I think some of the panelists in the earlier discussion spoke about synthetic data and using synthetic data where data is not available, or we want to avoid these kind of biases as well. So I think it's a journey that we have to go through, where there are definite benefits on adoption of AI, but it will not be suiting or fitting into 100% of situations, and there will be constant monitoring that is required. So I mean, ops aspect of ML and AI is going to be something that's going to keep getting more demanding as we go along, because all this that we talk about, responsible, bias, all this is what ops is going to help you track.
Thank you. Are you ready for some entertainment value? Yeah? Okay, Ashwini, your question. If generative AI were to be a celebrity, who do you think it would be and why?
If I have to say, it'll be Amitabh Bachchan. Most of us know him because the persona that he carries, okay, and because of the persona, I think he is able to, do a lot of social cause initiatives. Uh, for example, if you take about the polio, Do Boond Zindagi Ke, right? It was a very successful campaign that he did, and it was just because of Amitabh Bachchan who did it that the tagline became so famous. Even for HIV, AIDS, and all the campaigns that he did, helping out the farmers. So I would say Amitabh Bachchan as a celebrity. And if I take in privilege of mentioning something else, uh, I would say not a celebrity, but all of us know him. It's Lord Krishna. Uh, I would say long back he wrote Bhagavad Gita, which I'll call it as LLM, where you have answers for all your life queries, whether it is management, whether it is all about any question related to life issues. Go back to Bhagavad Gita, ask the right prompt, and you'll get the answer. So that's what I'll say in terms of
Awesome. Shivani, next question to you. How do you explain generative AI to a fifth grader?
Something that thinks it knows all the answers, but be careful, it may not, right? So I think I'll kind of narrate an incident. So my daughter was using Siri on her iPad, right? And she's about 8 now, and this was about a year back, and she used to keep getting irritated with Siri, because Siri was as Siri would answer some of her questions, like open Chrome and what color is this and what plant is this, she started asking more involved questions, right? And Siri used to keep coming back and saying that I don't know how to answer this. I don't know how to answer this. So I think, to a fifth grader, yeah, it's something that will give them a lot of answers, but it definitely doesn't know, everything. I think that's what I, tell my daughter. And and of course, just on a lighter note, I'll tell her that it can never replace me. So yeah.
Nowadays,
In
fifth
terms-
graders know everything, even beyond ChatGPT. So, all right, last question, Kiran. If generative AI were to write a very famous Bollywood punchline, what would that be? And we'll close with that.
Since there was Amitabh Bachchan, now I think there has to be Shah Rukh Khan also on the stage. So I'll say, कभी कभी जीतने के लिए हारना पड़ता है, and हार के जीतने वाले को ChatGPT 3.5 कहते हैं.
All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you, Nasscom.